Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I am your host, Mo Atkins. Welcome to another episode. Today we'll be talking about how my guest speaker, her journey with self-love and fitness has impacted her ability to manage symptoms of clinical depression. So I'm really looking for this conversation. So first of all, my guest speaker is Courtney. She's the CEO and founder of Loyobo. She told me this, okay? She's gonna have to explain this to us. She told me this, okay? Which is a virtual community dedicated to helping women to ditch the diet culture, finding joy in movement, and finally figuring how to love their body. So let's go back. First, welcome, but please help me not butcher the name of your company and say it, please.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I chose this name because I feel like it instantly breaks down barriers and makes people laugh. So it stands for Love Your Body Fitness. So it's Loyobo Fit.
Thank you.
It came about with a bottle of wine and having fun, and that's what embodies the whole business.
I love that. Okay. Besides anything else you want to add about yourself before we start today?
Yeah, I think, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you as well because I think that, you know, we've made so many strides when it comes to discussing mental health and it no longer being stigmatized or taboo, but I think there's so much more that we can do, and I think that knowing that everybody's mental health has suffered with the pandemic and everybody's been struggling in their own ways, that I hope that there are some really great takeaways for your listeners of how they can start to improve their mental health and change their relationship with their body.
I appreciate you saying that because you're right. It is. I remember a few years ago when I was younger, mental health was really a big taboo. Nobody wanted to talk
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
You were either ostracized or you may have not gotten a job or people made fun of you because they thought you had issues. And I'm glad there's a different thought process nowadays. Now, in respects to you, I know
Mm-hmm.
this. I don't want at any time if you feel like I may be being over the board or asking questions that are a little too personal, please feel free to say something. I think for a lot of people are asking, okay, so you don't look like you're depressed or you had clinical depressed. I'm gonna be one of those people that are gonna
Yeah,
ask
I
more
love that.
questions. They're gonna ask because people, how do I look depressed? Am I supposed to be crying 24/7?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think for us is like, what did you go through? Can you share some of your depression and how were you diagnosed or did you figure it out yourself?
Yeah. What a great question. Thank you, Mo, especially because my personality is very go energizer bunny. I'm very optimistic. I'm very energetic. So I don't usually present in I call it very high functioning. Both I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2013, and my first depression diagnosis was back in, oh my goodness, it would have been like 2003.
Okay.
So a long time ago, and I no one knew, especially the first time I was depressed. Nobody knew because, and I think this is for many of us, and especially for people who identify as women, we're taught very well to keep a good face. You know what I mean? Like we're taught very well to keep showing up and keep getting things done and keep functioning. And there is this kind of disconnect, and even where some of the stigma can come from, because you're right. It's like, well, I'm not lying in bed all day and I'm not, yeah, crying all the time, or I'm not visibly different. So people are like, well, how can you still be living your life and be struggling with mental health issues? So I think that, first of all, I love that you asked that question. Yeah. So I was officially diagnosed when I was quite young. My first diagnosis was when I was 14. And I was on medication for pretty much all of high school. And when I was in grad school, I had a real resurgence of mental health issues. And that's when I received the anxiety diagnosis and was kind of told, likely, that it's one of those chicken and egg relationships of my anxiety likely causes my symptoms of depression, and because the symptoms of depression are a little bit easier to diagnose, that's why that they were first um, diagnosed when I was younger. But whether or not my anxiety was causing the issues or the depression was causing the issues, we're
I hear
still
what you're
figuring
saying.
out. Yeah. And then I was doing quite well in managing all the symptoms. And then when COVID hit, I did have a resurgence for the first time in kind of my real adult life, we'll say, in some of the depression coming back. So it's been a really interesting journey to um, how I managed it the first time and going through some of the shame and acceptance of coming back for a second time, especially doing what I do for a living and being open to talking about it, as I'm a coach who helps other women and having my own mental health issues, and how I'm able to now manage it and keep showing up, and have seen, the past 6 months to a year has been absolutely a journey of healing. And there's been so much improvement, and I'm in such a better place now that, and going through that depression has, I think, elevated my self-awareness and my understanding of myself and my relationship with who I am in my body. So at the end of the day, I'm very thankful to not just have gone through it and come out the other side, but now to be able to talk about it and hopefully share um, some takeaways and lessons for other people who may be struggling.
I appreciate you saying that. And I'm listening to you talk, and I think a lot, not a lot, but maybe my own personal experience, a lot of people may not be aware they may be depressed, or they may feel
Mm.
like they're going down, like they're just having a bad day. But I think, and then you said you're high. I know I'm high function anxiety. I know I have it. Okay. I'm fully aware. Like I would, like, I'm not, I fully know who I am. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
self-aware. Okay. I say this because a lot of people have that. And then you're right, like the chicken and egg, like, is your depression caused of you constantly being on like alert 24/7 moving, and you're just like, and then you when you hear this conversation, sorry, the comment about you can't pour from an empty cup, like some days you're just like, Lord God, like I can't do this anymore. And I, like, it's true. And I'm just thinking in my head, how did you know, like you said you were diagnosed, was it something based on some physical aspects of you, like something was hurting and it made you finally go see a doctor? Or did you say something's off? Like, I'm just trying to figure out, when does someone know that they need to go get themselves checked to see if it's really depression, what type of depression is? Do you know where I'm going with
Yeah.
this question?
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
great question. I think I'm going to answer the question of how I, especially this time as an adult, decided, but I also want to come back to what you just said as far as like, how do I know? Like, how do I know that I'm depressed? And for so many of us, even like you just joked, I'm the exact same way, right? Like uh, that expression, like, can't pour from an empty cup. My brain is like, but I can, because I have been for like years, right?
Yes, basically.
I've
Basically.
been pouring from like a perpetual empty cup.
From
So I think that
somewhere.
that's, yeah, exactly. It comes from somewhere. And I think, it's so funny how life works out. I was just having a conversation with my clients in my group coaching program last night about this exact topic, about how, again, especially as women, we need to give ourselves permission often to be human. And what that means is to recognize our own needs and to stop pretending like they don't exist, especially when it comes for the comfort of other people. So one of the clients in the program was saying, like, I often get scheduled for work in these like really awkward shifts where like I'm eating over lunch and I'm not able to, I'm legally supposed to take breaks, but I feel like I can't because I'm scheduled and my employer doesn't recognize it. And I was like, it's okay that you need breaks. Like, it's okay. You need to give yourself permission that, like, you can't function like a robot, which I think we often kind of create these expectations for ourselves, or we exist in a world where those expectations are kind of placed on us by our like work, hustle, busy culture. So that's like step number one, is recognizing that like life isn't supposed to be so freaking hard all the time. And if you feel like that, if you feel like you are constantly pouring from an empty cup, please hear me when I say you deserve more. You deserve to have a life where you enjoy yourself, where you have joy, where you have time to do things that have no purpose or function. You deserve to have rest and to have self care. So, that I feel like is like number one, is like changing our definition of what it means to be okay, because I think many of us think that we're okay, but really we've just normalized like perpetual suffering.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna agree with you on that. 100%. Yes.
So I think that that's number one, is really like having an honest conversation with yourself and asking like, and I think I don't like to use the word happy all the time, because I think that happy is a temporary state of being. I like to use the word content now in my life of, am I content? Am I satisfied? On a daily basis, can I access and tap into that contentness? If not, something's wrong. Something needs to change. So when I actually sought, to come back to the other half of the question, when I actually sought out a diagnosis and additional support, is this time around, it was in the summer of 2021, so almost a year ago. I basically was at a point where all of my normal go-to self-care habits no longer worked.
Mm.
Where I, you know, I would say when managing, anxiety never goes away, and depression usually, especially if you've been diagnosed young, it never really goes away. You kind of learn to manage it and to exist with it and have a good relationship with it. So I felt like I was pretty good over like a decade of like, I'd have bad days, but I'd pick myself back up, and I knew the things that would keep my mental health a little bit more stable, and I would use those in my routine and my daily repertoire. And I kept doing all those things, but my mood kept getting worse. And it was at the point where I no longer felt like myself. My family was expressing concerns, especially my husband, who was my fiance at the time. We were planning a wedding, which didn't help.
Congratulations.
Planning a COVID wedding, thank you. He was basically like, I no longer feel like I can help you because like you're just so sad all the time, and I'm concerned for you, and I'm concerned for your well-being. And for me personally, also, it was when my thoughts dipped to a point that scared me.
Okay.
Of I, in my first round of depression, trigger warning for suicide thoughts, of when I was 14, I did have suicide ideation, and I did want to end my life, and there was self-harm there. And I made a promise to myself that like I was never going to let myself get back to that low of a point, that I have enough respect for myself and my body, that I want to treat it better. And so the minute I had like that initial thought, even if it was a fleeting thought, I was like, I don't want to be here. We need to now ask for support, because I no longer can manage it if I'm having thoughts like that. So that's when I went to my doctor and said, here's what's up. We got to make some changes. And so I had a real conversation with her. I was very, and all on full disclosure, I was very reluctant to go on medication, because I still think that there's a lot of taboo and a lot of stigma. And I've had some negative experiences on medication in the past. But I recognized, again, I was like, I need to be, if you want different results, you have to be willing to try something different. So I was like, I need different results right now. So I got to try something different. And that meant medication for me. And I'm very thankful that I did. It took a little bit of trial and error over about 6 months, but now I'm on a medication that has really helped me. To how I describe it is, it gave me my clarity back.
Okay.
It gave me, it took away the fog. It took away the constant spiral, so that my normal tools for self-care and managing my mental health started working again. And I
Sure.
started being able to see the distinction. When you're really in depression and anxiety, there's no distinction between the voices. Everything seems real, right? Like of like the really negative, like self critique of ourselves, right? Gets real mean and real nasty. And there's no distinguishing that from the truth. It all feels the same. And when I had the medication, I was able to see like, nope, this is the anxiety. This is the depression talking. That's not me. And I could start to see the other truth that was there at the same time. And that was impossible before I got help.
I appreciate you saying that because a lot of people don't know how to like when you said that your trigger was basically okay, I'm starting to think of suicide. Like, okay, this is something, this is different. This is scaring me. This is not, I know this is not normal. I need someone to talk to and I don't want to hurt myself. So I really appreciate you saying that. I know part of the topic itself was saying that you were using fitness to, kind of help yourself. Like, how did you use fitness to basically help manage the symptoms itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's why I do what I do as well, because I think that fitness is a really amazing piece of women being able to see their bodies differently, to develop a new sense of self-confidence, and to discover like that, again, that like elevated plane of being. So for me, fitness has a couple of key components. So um, my first love in fitness is Zumba. I love my dancing, and how that allows me to um, basically have a self-care outlet is a couple different like prongs. One of them is definitely like being silly and being playful. I think especially as adults, we don't have enough opportunities to play in our lives. So that's a big part of it. Another part is again like space to be sexy, space to like just enjoy my body, like to have like pleasure in my body. That's another really big piece of it. And the third piece of Zumba is, and this is movement as a whole, is a way to release that energy. So anxious energy is a really like high frequency, right? Where it's elevated you and you're restless and like you don't know what to do with it. So it's a way for me to like basically like have like an off switch and like let that energy flow out in a really, really positive, productive way where I can go into class like all heightened and all anxious and restless. And then after class, I'm like, I'm so much more zen. I can see things much more clearly. Things are put into perspective a lot more. So that's a really big piece of it for me. And then the other piece is lifting weights, I'll talk about, because lifting weights was not the first way I got into fitness, but it ended up being something that I was exposed to and really got into. I'll preface this like I'm no Olympic weightlifter or CrossFit lifter or anything like that, but engaging in strength resistance training allowed me, that was a really pivotal flip in how I saw myself and how I saw my body. It allowed me to recognize my version of what it meant to be strong in my body. It allowed me to really see what I was capable of. It helped me build my confidence. And I say this to anyone who's struggling with their mental health. When you are trying to lift something heavy, I promise you, you are not thinking about anything else. So if you're the type of person that you're like, I cannot calm my mind, I cannot like, if you try to meditate and your mind is like, and you're like, I can't, try lifting weights because I promise you that's how for someone like me, that's what allowed me to realize I can quiet my mind. I just need to find what works for me. And then once I was able to do that, then it started opening doors for me into meditation and mindfulness and intuitive eating and all these things that just helped me because I started to recognize what my body was capable of. I started to recognize my body not as my enemy, not as a thing that I needed to punish, but as like an ally, as my vessel for creating the life that I wanted to live. And I think that that's such an important switch. If you are feeling stuck in your life, if you are struggling with low self-esteem, if you're struggling with confidence, if you're feeling like you spend a lot of time and energy into worrying about how you look, worrying about what your weight is, worrying about your body shape, worrying about weight loss, all of those things are subtracting, they're draining the energy that you could be using to build the life of your dreams. And fitness is a really great way to start recognizing and creating that shift.
Left me speechless. I loved it. Because I'm just like, the reason why I say that is, sometimes you think you can't calm your mind. I lift heavy. I love lifting heavy.
Yeah.
I'm a weight. So you're right. And I was thinking because went to the gym early today, and I'm like, I was lifting that weight. I'm like, she's right. At that point, you ain't thinking of nothing
You're
but
not thinking about anything else.
making sure that thing doesn't drop on your head. You're making sure that you push
Exactly.
that. You're making sure that thing goes up and down. You're breathing through. Like, okay, we're done. One more rep. Okay, we're done. Okay, we're done. You focus on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that because it's like, okay, yeah, I hear what she's saying. That said, if anybody was interested in learning more about, your journey, your community, and wanting to join and learn, and even follow yourself, what's the best platform to reach you out on?
Instagram for sure. I'm all about those reels right now.
Really?
Yeah, I love them.
I hate
So
I
challenge
hate making
accepted.
them. I make hating
We're
them.
gonna do one together. I know making them is like but
Sorry.
I just find them so fun. Anytime I get an excuse to dance like an idiot on the internet, I'm always game for it.
Oh, you're too cute. So what is your Instagram handle so if anybody wants to go visit you or even follow you?
Loyobo Fit. So Loyobo. Love your body. Loyobo Fit. That's my Instagram handle, and it's also our website too.
Perfect. I will make sure that's on the show, on the video and in show notes to stop. That being said, before we let you go, anything you want to add or anything that you want to share for our viewers? I even know what's next for you, really.
Yeah. Great question. So, we're still, as far as what's next for me, we're really, I have a brick and mortar space, and so being in the online world is new to us. So I'm just really excited to keep spreading our message to outside our local community and keep helping, as many women as I can. And I'd love to provide a resource to your listeners. So I have a guide that's called How to Embrace the Body You Have rather than planning to love the body you want. Because that's so often, right? How many of us play the when I game? I'll feel better I'll feel better when I lose weight, when I have more money, when I look a certain way, when I, get the promotion, whatever it is. So, that's a really great way if you're thinking about getting started of of figuring out how to make peace with the body that you have so that you can make decisions that really lift you up. So all you got to do, find me on Instagram, send me a DM that says the word embrace, and I will send you that free guide and I'll hook you up.
I love that. I really appreciate this conversation. Like over the past year, I've been telling, my guest speakers that you guys have become my therapy. You're cheaper than McCarthy. Honestly, like there's certain, like honestly, when you have conversations with certain people and there you hear their stories, you kind of relate to what they're saying, and then you're like, okay, you're not alone. Like, that makes sense. Or you're like, okay, you know what? You may not be crazy after all. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I sincerely appreciate this conversation, and I wish you all the best. And you can tell that you found your happiness and you look happy, and I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
There's a lot of
Thank you.
happiness.
And thanks for having this platform because I couldn't agree more that, this is how we dispel shame and connect with one another by having real conversations. So thanks for doing what you do.
We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired, and don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way podcast. Have a good day, you guys.